Hi, so today I'm going to be showing you my final project for this class. Um, so self-love and history. So right from the title, students, how can you relate self-love with history? History, we've always been taught that it's about facts and taking the test and doing this and that, very monotonous, but we're going to change the perspective. I will be talking about grade 3 content standards. My standard is 3.5. Students demonstrate basic economic reasoning skills and an understanding of the economy in the local region. The standard 3.5.3, this standard is a substandard. This will be talked about before in class. It will be a lesson before, and then standard 3.5.4 discuss the relationship of students' work in the school and their personal human capital. You will see how standard 353, individual economic choices involve trade-offs, will connect with standard 354, which is the relationship of work and what they're gaining from it. I decided to pick grade 3 because honestly, I am not very confident in it. I felt like I always wanted to teach higher grades, and grades 4 and 5 had more direct standards, such as focusing on certain people, a war. It outlines specifically, but if you dig into standards of lower grade levels, I think it gives you a wider range of implementing what is really happening in the world, with our past history, with the history that we're making, and with the future. So I felt like I could dig deep into a grade level that was more broad, where the standard was more broad, although I'm not very confident in it, as I said. So my teaching philosophy, as you can see, it's based on questions. I want my conversations to be guided with questions. Either questions that I give or questions that prompt students to make their own questions. I want this class to be student guided. I never thought that students can gain so much from a conversation through a class like this. I always thought it had to be exams, this and that, and that the teacher had to lead. But now I understand through this class that you can gain so much knowledge from a simple conversation, from applying concepts simply, and then you can dig deeper and apply those things into harder stuff. I want them to reflect, to connect, to do a lot of those things. My teaching philosophy is also based on social emotional learning. I believe that focusing on what students need socially and emotionally first will allow them to feel at peace with themselves and then be able to give their best effort in the class. I was never taught this. I always was a robot in school. And until now, I'm learning that if I'm okay with myself, I can do greater things for myself and for other people. So a big focus on individuality. My teaching philosophy is not based on any exams. This lesson will not have any exams, any homework, any hard things that we consider it hard because they're so ingrained in us and it's so monotonous and you have to do it this way and that way. It's not going to be like that. I don't want exams. I don't want any of that. I want them to learn and grasp onto the knowledge. I don't care about exams. Maybe they can present their work through an assessment, through a presentation, through something like this that we're doing. They can do greater things through other things than exams and memorization. That doesn't lead anywhere. So, my questions, my inquiry section. I want students to develop patterns and trends, as you will see in my primary source. The details of the source, what we can grasp from it, what your individuality can allow you to grasp from it, the multiple perspectives that, Hannah thought this, but Jackson thought this. But I mean, they're different things, but in the end, they both connect, and their individuality makes them look at it differently, but they get the main idea, they get the concept. Big ideas. So we're applying this broad standard and we're going to minimize it into the littlest thing so that they can even grow in themselves. We're taking how your work can affect your monetary situation, what you gain monetarily. But in the end, it's what they can gain in life by paying attention to what they like. Time. these last 5 bullet points are the historical thinking skills. I want my students to just be able to like apply these historical thinking skills all through their lessons. Time, chronological thinking, past, now, then. How can it help us? How can it make us grow? Can we see patterns, trends? Comprehension, actually allowing students to understand, giving them the time to understand, to take things slowly, to realize what it's trying to tell you, what an author may be trying to tell you versus what a primary source may be trying to tell you. Analysis and interpretation, that goes with comprehension. They're going to analyze, they're going to interpret it based on their individuality and what the source is telling them, the credibility. The research, it's important to research, but it doesn't have to be so like rigid research. We can gain ideas through different sources, even the sources that are not like .org. They can be from .com, and you can gain great insight as long as you know how to apply it, as long as you're aware of what you're gaining and how it can be biased or not. And decision making, they're going to come to their own conclusions. This can be applied in any area of your life, and most importantly in history. So why not show them skills that they can apply everywhere? So my primary source will be this. I will show them this. Here is my my works cited for the primary source. I will not provide the title of the source yet. This is my adaptation. As you can see, I am telling them what is happening, not why it's happening. I want them to decipher the why through our conversations, through everything. So woman is smiling, woman is in a dress, very different than the others. The kids are in regular clothes. These numbers down here, it says UCLA at 1929 and some other numbers that we don't know. 2 kids creating a pyramid. There's a building behind, and there's various children around. Children all around observe how she helps their peers. There's no expression. What can we deduct from this building, from the children, from the no expression, from her expression? She's smiling, but is she happy? Is she nervous? We don't know. So any vocabulary that students may not, this is a very direct primary source and how I'm adapting it. So I don't think there will be any vocabulary that students don't understand, but if I have like English language learners or something and they need help with certain things, I will make sure to stop, like, do you know what emotions are? Like, and explain, because individuality and every kid matters. So, you can assess students as you go and give them what they need. So now we have innovation. How am I going to apply this primary source? So I want them to come into the classroom and I want to give them time to have an initial reflection. I want my students to be able to like have a little notebook where they can write, draw, color, do whatever, and just express how they're feeling. Not in long paragraphs, not you have to do this, but just put their thoughts down. It has made me grown. Through my therapy sessions, I have grown through that, and I think it helps. And through my another English class that I'm taking, it does not have to be like you have to write one paragraph and it has to be specific. Just write whatever comes out. I will ask them, when you do something for yourself, something that you love, how does that reflect in your life and onto the life of others? They will reflect. 5 minutes to write down some thoughts, no more than 5 minutes. Self-love, as you can see, history. Then I'm going to have them draw a picture of themselves in a place that they like to spend time in, or doing something that they really like, more specifically doing something. Sophia likes to draw. She's going to draw herself in the picture drawing. It's important that they draw themselves in the picture because that helps them envision. I also learned that through my English class. It's pretty interesting how all these things tied together. But she's going to draw something herself, doing something that she likes. We will then create a Socratic seminar. In this seminar, we're going to examine our source. As you can see, all these circles around, all students will be seated in a circle. They will punch ideas back and forth to each other through guided questions that I will give. As you can see, I already gave some, or that they come up with as we go. Like they bounce off ideas. This person over here bounced a blue one, so this person got a blue one. This is kind of how I interpreted this image. I think it's pretty cool. We all combine into different colors, and that's what makes our individuality. We're going to bounce off ideas about, questions about our source, the adaptation, but also what it's guiding us to. What is this telling us? I will slowly start to give them pieces of the title, such as, can you please research who Olga Konoli-Fikatova is? They will research their stuff. They will also have their drawing and what they wrote with them, and then they will pick what source they want to use. There will be a lot of information, but they get to pick because they guide their education. I am just there to push them along and to help them. Then UCLA, like the year, what can they gain from this? Slow integration of the title. And then I'm finally going to give them the source name. I will give them the source name, and this is what it says. They will be able by then to tie everything together. What is the source trying to tell us? Our content standard in the beginning, relationship of students' work, her work as an Olympian, and how she's helping her human capital, but also helping kids, how her individual economic choices, but all choices, not just economic, involved trade-offs. How she's dressed. Now we know, well, now we can deduct based on each person, as I continue to say. Once I give them the title, I'm going to mention that I want to try to find a second source that talks about this primary source, that talks about our primary source, the woman, but in a different, like in a secondary source kind of style, where someone is talking about the source, so that students can compare and contrast. Well, I see this, but this person sees this. So now we can make our own deductions based on this and this. And do I believe them? Do I not? Is it credible? That's building their historical thinking skills. And then everything is going to connect at this point. They're going to connect their research on who this person is, on their adaptation, all the work we've done, still sitting in a circle. And with their drawings, we're going to share our drawings. We're going to see how we can impact each other through our work, through our love, through our individuality. There will be no explanation needed, because at this point, students will know why I did each step of the lesson. And then I'm going to have them do a community service project. It's not going to be like, let's plan it for later. It's going to be that day. I can bring in like seeds from flowers and go plant them. Whatever we have at our reach, we're going to grab and we're going to make the best of it. And that is what I'm trying to get at with this primary source, and with history, and with, learning how your decisions today will affect tomorrow, but your decisions on yourself. We're going to go out, we're going to do the project, and we're going to work together, and it's going to be beautiful. And in the end, I want them to have a final reflection time, 10 minutes, breathe. I want to start with them with breathing. Just breathe after our project. They were busy. And then I asked them to write down simple thoughts. How does this lesson make your work ethic change? You don't have to be accepted by everyone else. You just have to learn to accept yourself. You don't even have to accept yourself. You just have to learn to work with who you really are. You have to dig into who you really are, so that one day you can be doing what that person is doing in their drawings, but in real life. And how this is going to generate wonderful things in your life: money, success, happiness, peace, comfort. But also, when you're at peace with yourself, it's going to generate peace to others, just as this woman is coming to play with him. And how I interpret this, these children have never had something like this. They're in like no expression what is happening. But as you can see, the kids in the pyramid are enjoying it. As I said, everyone interprets it differently. But when you work on yourself, when you do the things that you love, you automatically, without effort, without trying so hard to please others, you're going to be yourself and you're going to help others. Concluding thoughts. This lesson turned out better than I thought. I loved this lesson. I actually want to implement it in my class one day. I think it's so important that from a simple thing, I was able to come and with simple steps, like simple things. I didn't have to make them research this and write all this and that. They were working with themselves, with their individuality, with their self-love, with their social emotional learning. They learned about themselves to generate beautiful historical thinking skills that they'll be able to apply as they go through. I hope you enjoyed this. And thank you so much. And this is my works cited.